Welcome to the best session at Thinkers50, Idea Hunting. All right, let's give a round of applause. My name is Erica Dewan. I feel like I'm hosting Idea Jeopardy right now. I am the CEO of Cotential and co-author of a book called Get Big Things Done, The Power of Connectional Intelligence. And I'm thrilled to be the chair of today's Idea Hunting session, which is all about sharing the best and brightest new ideas from emerging thinkers around the world. I want to start off with a quick quote from Oscar Wilde, who said, "An idea that is not dangerous enough is unworthy of being an idea at all." So I'm excited for all of us to listen to some dangerous ideas that will help us reimagine and challenge business as we step into the future. Our first speaker is Carol Fishman Cohen. She is an author and CEO of iRelaunch. Each presenter will have 8 minutes to share their big idea, and throughout the session, we'll also ask you some provocative questions that you'll get to discuss at your tables. So let's give a round of applause for Carol.
Thank you, Erica. So at iRelaunch, my company, we focus on helping people return to work after a career break. And we also do a lot of work with employers, helping them to create programs to engage with this talent pool. Now, primarily, I'm talking about women who take career breaks for childcare reasons, but also men who do so, and women and men who take career breaks for reasons that have nothing to do with childcare. Elder care, pursuing a personal interest, a personal health issue. A whole range of reasons. We call people who go through this process relaunchers, and the process itself relaunching. And we're talking about career breaks that range from 1 to over 20 years. Now, in addition to helping companies introduce, implement, and expand these career reentry programs, we track career reentry programs of all kinds globally. And we've been doing it for almost 10 years. We started in 2008, and by 2010, we could tell there was something important brewing. We started to see the emergence of an internship or an internship-like experience as a way for people to return to work. We saw some corporate examples. We saw an example in the military. We saw some executive education programs. So we tracked this for a couple of years, wrote a report about it, and then in 2012, actually November of 2012, almost 5 years to the day, I published an article in Harvard Business Review called "The 40-Year-Old Intern." I have to thank Harvard Business Review for that title. And I also want to thank Sarah Green Carmichael and Whitney Johnson for noticing our work in the early stages that ultimately led to that article. And I'll get back to that in a second, but I want to talk to you about what is so appealing about this talent pool. First of all, think about the life stage. So for a company that is connecting, let's say, with a woman who is returning to work after a career break for childcare reasons, she's likely to have fewer or no maternity leaves. People at this stage are in a more settled time of life, fewer spousal or partner job relocations. They have great work experience, a mature perspective, plus they have an energy and enthusiasm about returning to work precisely because they've been away from it for a while. And if this sounds personal, I can tell you that it is, because I had that chomping at the bit enthusiasm myself in year 9 of my 11-year career break. I was working in the late 80s for Drexel Burnham Lambert, the investment bank, in their Boston corporate finance group, and I was on maternity leave with my first child in February of 1990 when Drexel went under, thus beginning my career break. I ended up having 3 more kids in close succession, was out of the full-time workforce for 11 years. And then I returned in 2001 to Bain Capital, the investment firm, in part because there were ex-Drexel people working there. But back to the HBR article. So 2 of the points I make there are, one, that an internship-like experience is a great vehicle for an employer to engage with someone returning from career break if they attach risk to hiring that person. Because A, they can evaluate the person based on actual work instead of a series of interviews, and B, they don't need to make that hiring decision until the internship period is over. And I want to be clear that these internships are paid. They range from 9 weeks to 6 months. They're structured very similarly to how you might imagine a university entry-level internship program might be structured. The participants come in as a cohort. They have an intern orientation. education, they have professional development activities, but the roles, responsibilities, and the content of that professional development, those sessions, are appropriate for mid-career professionals. A brief history. These programs really started on Wall Street. Goldman Sachs had the first program in 2008. JP Morgan's program started in 2013. And then in 2014, Morgan Stanley, Credit Suisse, and MetLife started programs. So that was kind of a milestone year that all of a sudden we had 5 programs in financial services that were former career reentry internship programs. And I'll come back to why that is important in a minute. But you might wonder, why was Wall Street such a leader in this particular area? And it's because the Wall Street firms, the financial services firms, are so old. They've had generation after generation of employees move through all these different life stages, and they've seen at each life stage women leaving, and this happened over and over again. So there became a sense of urgency around, we don't have enough women in mid to senior level roles, and that's why these programs started originally in response to that. But then when they saw the caliber of the people who were applying and participating, the program started to expand based on their own merit. So I just want to come back to that moment in 2014 with the 5 financial services companies that offered programs. That was a milestone moment for iRelaunch because we run our flagship event as the iRelaunch Return to Work Conference, and that year was the first year we had up on stage 5 relaunchers who had returned to work after completing one of these programs. So when that happened, a light bulb went off in my head that we need to bring this model to another sector. This is a longer story, but the short version is that we co-founded and co-lead with the Society of Women Engineers, an initiative called the STEM Reentry Task Force. We have 14 of some of the biggest companies in the world involved who have already started or will start a paid reentry internship program for returning technical professionals. And these are companies including IBM, General Motors, Northrop Grumman, Johnson & Johnson, Ford, that size and scope of a company. And we're really excited about the results that we're seeing. By the end of this year, we'll have almost 200 people who have participated or are participating in these programs, and the hiring rates that are coming out of them are really impressive. 60% to 100% of the people participating in one of these programs, depending on the company or the cohort, are getting hired upon completion. And we're encouraged by these numbers because they support and even exceed what we were seeing on Wall Street. The Wall Street programs, which of course have been running longer, the hiring rates out of those are 50% to over 90%. So we're really encouraged by what we're seeing there. I have a popular TED Talk that's on this topic, and there are 2 big ideas in it. One of them is if a company has a large-scale entry-level, university-level internship program running, that they should consider running side-by-side a re-entry internship program. There's no reason why they shouldn't. And once they get comfortable using internships as a vehicle for engaging with return-to-work professionals, then they could think about expanding these programs to engage with a whole range of non-traditional candidates, retirees coming out of retirement, veterans transitioning, expats repatriating, and we're already starting to see that happen. So here's the big leap. It used to be that if you had a career break on your resume, you couldn't get hired. It would get tossed out. And now that we have so many of these programs running, you're not even eligible to apply for them unless you have a career break. So we consider that really significant. And the other piece is that with the impressive rates, hiring rates coming out of these programs, and with studies showing us now that millennials are anticipating taking career breaks in greater numbers than we've ever seen before, we expect to see these programs proliferate even more. And that's what we're working on at iRelaunch. Thank you.